What a wild ride we're in for tonight on Hollow Street. Season 2 is wrapping up, and we're diving into a story that's super relatable for anyone living in a cozy suburb. This one's all about the Neighbourhood watch on Elmwood Drive, and trust me, it's got a twist that'll make you think twice about those quiet nights. You know how we all love that feeling of safety in our little neighborhoods, right? But sometimes, that peace can be shattered in the most unexpected ways. Picture this. Elmwood Drive is the kind of street you'd see in a postcard. You know, the ones with perfectly manicured lawns, vibrant flower beds, and fences that look freshly painted. Everyone knows everyone, and there's a sense of community that makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. Kids ride their bikes up and down the street. Neighbors chat over white picket fences, and barbecues are a regular weekend affair. But lately, something's been off. A shadow has crept over this idyllic little corner of the world, and it's giving everyone the creeps. At first, it was just some weird stuff happening. A garden gnome would go missing for a couple of days, only to pop up on someone else's lawn, facing the wrong way. How bizarre is that? I mean, who moves a garden gnome? It's like the ultimate suburban mystery. Then, people started noticing their mail disappearing. Imagine going to check your mailbox and finding it empty, only to hear whispers of similar tales from your neighbors. It's like a spooky movie unfolding right in front of you. And if that wasn't enough, late at night, residents began hearing strange, rhythmic tapping on their windows. Talk about unnerving. It was subtle, but it frayed the nerves of the entire community, leaving everyone on edge. Enter Brenda, a retired school teacher who had lived on Elmwood for a whopping more than 40 years. She's the kind of person who just can't sit back and watch chaos unfold. When the unease started creeping in, she decided enough was enough. So, she called a meeting at her house. Can you imagine the atmosphere? The air was thick with tension and the smell of instant coffee. People were scared, and you could feel it. Old Mr. Henderson, bless his heart, swore he'd seen a figure lurking in the woods behind his property. And the Millers, that young couple in number 12, said their dog wouldn't stop barking at the empty street after midnight. It was like a scene straight out of a horror flick. Brenda, ever the problem solver, proposed a solution that was both innovative and practical, a modern neighborhood watch. But this wasn't going to be your grandma's neighborhood watch. Oh no. This was the digital age, and she had a plan that was as brilliant as it was simple. They wouldn't just patrol the streets. They would use technology to their advantage. I mean, why not? We're living in a world where we can stream movies and connect with friends across the globe in an instant. Her idea, a designated watch night. On that night, several households would set up cameras in their front-facing windows and live-stream the footage to a private group chat. Genius, right? This way, they could keep an eye on the street from the comfort of their own homes. It was like a digital stackout. Everyone was on board, feeling that spark of hope and camaraderie. Finally, they felt like they were taking back control of their neighborhood. The first watch night was set for the following Saturday. Brenda at number 4, Mr. Henderson at number 8, the Millers at number 12, and a tech-savvy teenager named Leo at number 16 all volunteered. Can you just picture them? They spent the week gearing up laptops, webcams, smartphones propped up on windowsills, all aimed at that dark, silent street. It was like they were gearing up for a big game. The shared purpose was comforting, and it felt like they were finally banding together as a team. Saturday night rolled around, and it was cold and moonless. By 10 p.m., all four streams were live in the group chat. But guess what? It was almost boring. The feed showed nothing but empty sidewalks and the gentle sway of trees in the wind. In the chat, they made small talk to ease the tension. Brenda commented on how quiet it was, and Leo joked about catching a raccoon trying to steal a bin. For 2 hours, it was a digital stackout with zero action. The initial tension began to fade into a kind of shared boredom, but then, at exactly 12:13 a.m., everything changed. All 4 live streams froze at the same time. It wasn't a gradual buffer or a pixelated lag. It was a dead stop. The images on their screens were suddenly locked in place. But here's the kicker. It wasn't the stillness that was terrifying. It was what the images showed. On Leo's phone, he was no longer looking at his own live stream. Instead, he was staring at Brenda's feed. She was frozen mid-sentence, her mouth slightly agape, but her eyes weren't on her laptop anymore. They were wide with terror, staring directly over the top of the camera at something or someone standing just behind it, in her own living room. Can you imagine the panic? I mean, what would you do in that situation? Brenda, in her house, was now watching Mr. Henderson's feed. The old man was frozen too, his hand clutching his chest, his gaze fixed on a point just behind his own webcam. The Miller saw Leo's feed, where the teenager's face was a pale, frozen mask of shock, his eyes locked on something in his room, unseen by the camera. And in the Miller's house, Mr. Henderson was watching their feed, capturing the young couple in a silent scream, both of them staring, horrified, at the space just behind their phone. Each of them was watching a different neighbor's feed, and in each feed, the neighbor was staring in absolute terror at a presence just out of frame, a presence that was in the room with them. They were all watching each other's horror unfold, a perfect, horrifying loop of fear. Then, in the group chat, a single new message appeared, sent from an unknown account that wasn't part of the group. It contained just 4 words. Thanks for watching us, too. Talk about chilling. Can you even wrap your head around that? The next morning, Elmwood Drive was even quieter than before. 4 houses stood silent, and the police found the homes undisturbed, with no signs of forced entry. Just 4 laptops and phones, still open to the private group chat. The live streams had ended, but the video files were corrupted, every single one. All that remained were the final, frozen frames, saved as screenshots on each device. 4 faces, forever locked in a state of sheer terror, staring at something that was never seen. The neighborhood watch on Elmwood Drive was their first and last. The remaining residents no longer talk about what happened. They pull their curtains tight at night and pretend not to notice the new, strange sounds, the faint tapping on their windows or the soft, whisper-like static that sometimes comes from their phones, even when they're turned off. They know that sometimes the safest thing to do is not to look, because you never know who might be looking back. So, what do you think? Isn't it wild how a seemingly peaceful neighborhood can hide such dark secrets? This story really hits home, doesn't it? It makes you think about the people around you, the ones you wave to as you pass by, and what might be lurking just beneath the surface. Thanks for hanging out with me on Hollow Street tonight. Remember to lock your doors and maybe even cover your webcams. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our season finale. Stay safe out there, and keep an eye on your neighbors, because you never know what might be lurking just out of sight. Who knows? The next Elmwood Drive could be right next door.